Welcome to Secular Soup. Stay tuned for real talk about atheism, feminism, politics, parenting, and whatever the fuck else Amy and Amy want to talk about, because this is their show. And get ready for a whole lot of motherfucking profanity.
You want to hear a secret?
I won't tell anybody. Go ahead. If I sit next to you, I'm going to get gonorrhea. It's going to jump into me. Just two ladies hanging out.
Is it okay for me to make fun of his neck waddle if I make fun of my own neck waddle?
I'm not sure.
That's a real ethical conundrum.
Would you know if you were born a lizard person, or can you be like adopted into the...
I think you know.
We're such professionals.
We really are.
Buckle up, bitches. It's time to have some soup.
I'm Amy with a Y.
And I'm Amy with an I.
And we're just two blueberries floating in a bowl of tomato soup. And today we have an extra blueberry floating around with us, a very, very special guest that our fans have been just clamoring for, even though they hear him every single week.
I'm already uncomfortable, honestly.
It's weird, but we have a certain Mr. Eli Bosnick here to give us his vocal
with
stylings.
An I. There's another with an I.
That's true. You should be the only with an I. So Eli with an I, would you like to introduce yourself to our fans? I'm sure all of them know you, but go ahead.
Thank you so much for having me. I am a podcaster. I am on The Scathing Atheist, God Awful Movies, The Skepticrat, and Citation Needed. And now I'm a little nauseous because I'm thinking about blueberries and tomato soup. So it's a good combination. We're off to a strong start.
Yeah, it's real gross. Maddie Love ate that in front of us once.
It's typical. Someone's on our show. They're like, and I'm already nauseous. Like,
yeah.
Good.
It's usually because of us, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, one of our...
I usually share some story that's a little too far, you know.
Yeah,
there we go.
Don't tell him the IUD story. That's just we're all gonna start barfing.
Core biopsy. Core biopsy?
Oh, God.
No?
Anyway.
Okay.
You guys blew up some soldiers in Iraq? What happened?
We don't talk about that.
It's not the blowing up, it's the eating afterwards, because they're delicious.
There we go. Sure. That was an IED joke for everyone who was confused why I just shifted to the deaths of our
We have a
friends.
higher level of
Always
humor
funny. Always
on this
funny.
show, so.
Right. Trying to set that bar high.
Good. Anybody who has ever listened to our show knows that you hear Eli at the end of every single episode reciting the Soup Creed. And if anybody hasn't caught on yet after 74 episodes, the Soup Creed is directly making fun of the Cognitive Dissonance Skeptics Creed.
Yeah. And Eli is channeling his inner Tom. It's pretty
Eli,
fantastic.
our original idea was to get Cecil to read it because we thought that would be funny because Tom reads theirs. But then Cecil is actually the guy that came up with the slurp even this line. And then he's the one that talked Eli into recording it for us. So thank you for doing that.
I'm sure it was a big
People
ask.
love it.
It was like, hey, please.
It was probably a lot of hard
Always
work.
a good time.
You know? Yeah.
Whenever I can do my Tom impression, I'm happy.
It was fun. So today we actually have a topic which is unlike us, but we thought we're having a superstar on. We better get our shit together.
I don't even know what show I'm on anymore. You wrote down questions.
Yeah.
You have a topic.
Who am I?
God.
Like, what have I become?
Is this even
it's
podcasting if you plan it?
I have to drink just to put up with this shit. Like, this is not appropriate.
It felt uncomfortable while I was writing down the questions, but I persevered.
You used a paper and a pen. It's just...
I couldn't find a pen, so it's written in pencil like a second grader, but it's good enough.
It's crayons.
It's fucking good enough. Yes. I grabbed
Backwards
whatever
letters.
was near
I'm like,
me.
this is fine. It's fine.
It's how Trump
It's in my
writes.
business notes. Back off, bitch.
So we are going to discuss political correctness and if it's gone too far.
I should not call you a bitch.
But before we do that,
respectable woman.
We do that, we have these nice questions written in pencil lined up for Eli. So Eli has not gotten these questions in advance. This is totally off the cuff. That's how
I don't even know what
question
she's about to ask. So I am not on the. I'm not also a Nazi. Basically,
I'm not a Nazi.
She's not.
If I put it that way,
that's not the great way to say
not a good
that
inflection.
sentence. Can I just throw that out there? You want to really right away.
It's like it's her O.J. Simpson. If I were a Nazi, here's what I would say.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
I like to leave room for changing of minds.
There's some wiggle room.
And,
There's wiggle room.
Yeah.
Always.
So I won't ambush you like I did with Aaron by asking what your favorite Broadway show is. But if you have a favorite Broadway show, you can talk about that. It's okay.
Currently on Broadway or of all time? So I have terrible taste in music, and I am a sucker for musical theater, so I'm going to go with Les Mis.
Oh, yes.
I was in it twice, and I just love it.
I love Les Mis. It's
She's
so good.
never asked me that question.
Because I know you know nothing about it. Okay, Amy.
Evita.
See, you have terrible taste in musicals. That's why.
Evita's pretty good.
Evita. But
you need a strong...
the Madonna
Hard
version.
disagree. Hard disagree.
And we're done.
Yeah.
This interview is over.
Yeah, this is
If
how we
only
fight every
Taylor
week.
Swift had done it. Oh,
No.
only.
In case you haven't heard, our whole show is just Amy and I complaining about each other's taste in musical theater. So it's nice to have a new fresh
Honestly,
voice
that's
on
better
here.
than like 9/10 of podcasts.
That's
I'm in.
very
I'm
true.
100% in.
Yeah, I'm on a trivia team every year for this charity event, and this year we're changing our name to Les Quizerable, and I'm going
that's
to get us all
fantastic.
berets. It's going to be a fantastic team. I'm so excited.
Yes.
Anyway, okay, so now that we've got Broadway out of the way,
Okay, good.
first question: are Tom and Cecil really as terrible as they come across in their podcast, just as people? Like,
Just in general.
As humans,
Yeah.
they're far worse.
See, that's what I was
yeah.
afraid of. I was afraid of that.
Yeah, the Panama Papers are mostly Tom and Cecil. They've been hiding all that Jew money. So yeah,
that makes sense. That makes sense now that
the
you mention
podcast
it.
is just the top of the barrel.
Is it true that Jew money is better? I've heard that.
Well, it's in gold.
Okay,
so
that's
you
what
can
I
trade it
thought.
in
That's
a
what I thought.
variety.
So
Yeah.
it's more versatile.
Yeah,
like
at your bar mitzvah, they give you a little bag, you
Okay.
fill it up, and then you just always
it's more
carry it
it's
with
more
you.
pure because straight up U.S. dollar.
Right, exactly.
Can buy
Who has the time
McDonald's
to be like,
for that. That's it. That's
Right.
only McDonald's accepted. Like that's it.
Right. What's the pound worth today?
Exactly.
Gold is just easy. It's easier to carry.
Okay.
Yeah, you
lot
can
more fun.
you can take Jew gold anywhere in the world and buy something. That's the upside. So
Okay.
That was the original pizza bagels chant. Now people know, you could take Jew gold in the morning, take Jew gold anytime.
okay,
Yeah.
so
That was a pizza bagels commercial reference for those of you
we all know
Right.
pizza bagels.
over the age of 31.
we know and love. I have pizza bagels in my
I
house at this
aspire
moment.
to be over the age
so-
of 31 at some point. I'm not yet.
I have a 15-year-old in the house, so we have a constant supply of pizza bagels at our home.
Just a full,
Yeah.
nonstop
We get
caravan
them
of
at
pizza
Costco
bagels.
because you know what? They'll sit in the freezer, and if our kids are hungry, we're like, "There's fucking pizza bagels. Put them in the microwave." Who am I, your mother? Like,
I
I know.
love
I t-
Costco.
I tell my kids
Costco's
that too. I'm
great.
like, I love you like you're my own.
I moved to the burbs recently and got my first Costco membership.
It's fantastic.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
just a delight.
It
It
is a
is.
delight.
You get favorite foods based entirely on pricing.
The
like, look,
the salad mixes are fantastic.
See, near me, maybe this is a Jersey thing, but near me, the fruits and veggies, they're not great. You got to stay clear of my Costco fruits and veggies.
oh,
You're good
ours
with
are
the
pretty
dry
good.
goods,
Yeah.
batteries, gift cards. Those are your jam.
No, we've got. I love their gigantic tubs of sour cream because we go through so much sour cream in this house that we can buy one of those huge ass tubs and use it all before it goes bad. So
I
big money
basically eat that
saver.
with a spoon.
well, and their cheese, their shredded cheese. We buy the giant bags of shredded cheese because that's how much fucking cheese we also eat in this house. It's
Yeah.
Nice.
it's a
Me too.
total
I
money
mean,
saver.
I'm lactose intolerant, but I
Well,
still do because
That's why I don't eat meals with you. So, question number 2. Since we are recording on a Sunday, just Sunday late morning, do you want to tell us how church was this morning? Like, was the service
it was
good?
good. I live kitty corner to a church. And so the same 3 Latina women walked in while I was asleep, and they are gone now.
Oh, that's
So
a good
yeah,
Sunday.
it was pretty fantastic.
What flavor of church is it?
I don't know. I try to pay as little attention to them
Is
as
it-
possible. They sent someone. So I went over when we first moved in. They've never sent anyone or done anything except for once when they asked if they could park in front of my house. And I was like, yeah.
Whatever.
you can
I don't-
park
I
in
don't
front of my house. But like I went over very early into moving in and I was like, yeah, my wife and I are moving across the street and just wanted to come over and say hi. And the response of the woman was, we're not open today. Not hi, nice to meet you. Not any other words, just we're not open today. And I
Sir,
was like,
it is a
"Yep,
Tuesday, not the God's day. I am a bitch today.
got it. Just wanted to
Sunday.
greet you like humans. Cool.
This is why you shouldn't ever talk to your neighbors.
Nice to
It's-
meet you,
yep.
neighbor. Wow.
This is America. We don't talk to our neighbors.
No.
Question number 3, and I don't know, you probably don't follow our show that closely, but
I
Amy
don't
and
follow our show that closely.
That's true. Amy doesn't either. She's usually not conscious while she's recording.
Roll
so
away from whoever I'm sleeping with.
yeah,
Put headphones in. Turn on my microphone.
it's true. We do have kind of this master plan whereby we are going to be sending all straight white cis men to Canada to live just forever. Like they all have to leave. So are you cool
We've
with
had
moving
some
to Canada?
pushback, which I think is real.
Why?
Yeah.
Don't threaten me with a good time. That sounds
Right?
free healthcare.
Yeah. I know. After we
No
came up with the
guns?
idea, we're like,
We were
why
like,
aren't we doing this
never mind.
backwards?
We're
Maybe
gonna
we
go.
should go to Canada and
Yeah.
But
We
we
have-
already said it. You can't take backsies
right.
on what you
now we
said.
got to double down, you know.
No backsies on a cultural
Right.
expatriation.
Once you do something, you got to double down on it.
Right. You got to stick to it.
Question number 4, was recording the Secular Soup Creed the highlight of your career? Is that
Yes,
what
absolutely.
you consider?
That's where I
life,
peaked.
not career.
Life. Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Yep, that's where it all topped out.
You peaked
Everything from there
at the
on.
Soup
All
Yep.
downhill now.
Yep.
Okay.
Question number 5. Why are men so terrible at podcasting? Could you speak on behalf of all men, please, for this one?
I would love to. So podcasting is one of two things. It is either people who recognize an audio medium and have a cool idea, or people who love to hear themselves talk and just need other people to do that. So you got to remember that in the Venn diagram of podcasters, the insufferable assholes, like that circle is inside the insufferable asshole circle, right? So inside that, you have an even smaller circle of men who are insufferable assholes.
Okay.
So
I'm
when
just
you, when you
picturing
get,
Tom. That's, I mean, just-
Right. When you get
Okay.
all the men who want to hear themselves talk together and then you put them on a radio show, it's not going to go well, right? The entrance exam is liking the sound of your own voice so much that you decide other people need to hear it for your living. So, yeah.
That makes
also, nobody
sense.
scripts,
Yeah.
which is why everyone sucks.
Yeah.
I strongly agree with that.
I mean, to be fair, though, that's the only reason Amy and I got into podcasting. We really, really like to listen to ourselves talk, especially me. I mean, Amy doesn't as much.
Sometimes
but
it works out.
everything I say is fascinating, number 1, full of useful information, number 2, and I say it in such a delightful way that I don't want to deprive the world of this vast knowledge I've accumulated over 42 years. So I feel like
Right.
I'm doing other people a favor by podcasting.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're welcome.
Your podcast should just be called You're Welcome. I was going to
Exactly.
say,
You're
yeah.
welcome. Yep. That could be our spin-off
we
podcast.
molded over. It was just less alliteration. So
Yeah.
I
We
get
need
it.
a lot
Yeah.
of alliteration and food references in our show titles.
Secular Soup, You're Welcome.
There you go. That's a good one. Okay, let's see. I think that's pretty much all of the pointed questions I had, other than how do we start making that sweet, sweet Puzzle in a Thunderstorm money? Do we have to go on a national tour, or does Amy have to get naked on a webcam? Like, how do you get on
Right.
the ball
again,
towards that?
again.
Again. Am I going to
you.
have to pimp out Amy forever to make that sweet,
Yeah.
sweet PS?
It's exhausting. It's exhausting.
Yeah, really,
I'm tired.
You got to put full time. I mean, Heath does most of the prostitution, sex work for
I can
our
see that,
podcast.
yeah.
And
And
you really
I'm
gotta
trying to
delegate.
get on his path. I'm not sure how to do that. I just am like, hey,
There's a sign-in sheet on
Oh,
our
I figured.
website.
Okay.
It's pretty easy. Just
if
sign
I
in.
sign in on Blood, does it
it
put my
count
name to
more?
the top of the list, or do I make another list that's like?
Well, the problem with HTML5 doesn't accept blood anymore, so it's a nightmare
damn it.
for coding.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
we got a Squarespace template.
I
so.
sent it to your house.
Okay, good.
It's cut out newspaper letters and the rest in blood. So I figured.
You know what it was? It dried, so all I had was I'm really looking forward to, and then there was just a schmear. So now I know.
Oh, because I put it in the envelope when it was wet. I always do that.
Rookie mistake, Amy.
It's like millennial voting. It
Yep.
doesn't always work out.
Yeah. I was going to say
I
that.
thought it worked out fine last time. I don't know what you're talking about. I am solidly on board with the way things turned out. It is.
That reminded me of something that then I immediately forgot because I'm old and I'm a woman, and women shouldn't podcast because
We really shouldn't do anything. I didn't
keep
think we were allowed
forgetting
to
things.
vote or drive. Honestly.
I just found that out this year. Like, what the fuck? I could have voted in 2016.
Right.
I thought we were still waiting for this to pass, and why did nobody inform me that I
I
could
was
have been
just-
voting all these fucking years?
I know.
What the hell? Yeah. I've been watching Boardwalk Empire. I've been re-binging it, and there's an episode
No
where
idea.
the women get the right to vote, and I'm like, wait, what? That was in the 20s, and I feel like such an ass.
We're the problem.
We really are. Everything's our
Well, and
fault, to be
also
fair.
for emails, I was really concerned, so
Well,
I didn't.
Those emails had a lot of sketchy woman stuff in them, and
Right.
besides
Talked about
that, ladies get so emotional that I worry that if they're in office, they're gonna have PMS one day and press the nuclear codes. I like
bears.
somebody who is straight arrow, calm, someone like a Donald Trump who can go in there and just
Calls it like he
real
sees
even
it.
keeled, real even keeled, not emotional.
Right.
So now that we've got all of that settled, we are going to be talking about political correctness. And I guess I wanted to start out by saying I've been
Damn
watching some
whiny
Bill
hippie
Maher.
babies need to shut up.
Well, here's the thing. Bill Maher
Right?
keeps telling me that you can't even walk onto a college campus anymore, or they protest you. Like, not even do a performance. You can't walk on to a college campus if you're over 40.
He is 100% accurate.
Or they will protest
he
you. Is
cannot
that true?
walk onto a college campus, or they will protest him because Bill Maher is a fucking asshole.
Yeah, well, I've heard it applies to all white men everywhere because they're the most oppressed. So what is your take on that, Eli? Have you ever walked onto a college campus, and have they boycotted you? How does that work?
Crazily enough, I walk onto a college campus multiple times a year when I teach at one.
No.
And they have yet to boycott me.
Wait, they let you teach? You are a white man.
I know. It's crazy. It seems like either I got lucky, maybe they allow one, I'm the tokenized white guy, or perchance the people who tell you about those college campuses filled with rabid leftists are Nazis and liars. I mean, there's only really two outcomes there, so we'll figure. I don't know which one it is.
I'd like to meet an honest Nazi.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Well,
they're like, you know what?
If you like honest
I
Nazis,
hate this list of people. Fight me,
you'll
bro.
love 8chan.
I just heard this is kind of what we do. We just go off on tangents, but I heard this story this week about a former coworker that I had never heard before. And the other coworker I was talking to was like, yeah, I was talking to Patty, and because we all know Patty's a horrible racist. She's from the South. It's a whole thing. None of us liked her. So he's like, Patty was telling me that she got out of jury duty one time because they asked her if she held any like prejudices against everybody. And her answer was, no, I hate N-words and S-words equally. Just said it in the jury room. And so my other coworker's laughing like, yeah, that's one way to get out of it. And she was serious. He's like, I think she actually said that in the jury room. Like, wow, to be that openly racist in Minnesota. We're not even in the South. That's just rural Minnesota racism.
Yeah, here it'd be like, I don't know,
wow.
black people look like criminals. They're like, she's not wrong.
Like in Texas, that's just every day. But
like,
here, it's weird to...
She's the foreman now.
Mm-hmm. So we've established that, okay, I guess you can go onto college campuses. I haven't been on a college campus in like 20 years. So I just assumed
but that's
they
just
made
his
signs.
Experience. Most people probably don't have that experience.
That's true. You're not representative of most people on rabid liberal college campuses.
Apparently.
That's true.
And I'm very concerned about free speech because if people don't have the right to say exactly what they want at all times, what even is America? Like, what are your thoughts on free speech? How
are people going to know that I hate the Portuguese?
Yes.
Right. Not just the right to say whatever you want, but actually the privilege of saying it without any consequences at all in any way, shape, or form, especially when those consequences resemble what you're encouraging other people to do. I mean, that's what's really dangerous.
It's just, it doesn't seem fair. You should be able to say whatever you want and not have any consequences ever. Mm-hmm. Especially if you're, straight white guy.
This is the first podcast I've ever done entirely in sarcasm. I want you to know I'm very impressed that we're just gonna
we do the whole
we are
show
18 minutes in and the entire show's been opposite day.
That's why our show is fun.
No one will shut you up here. We will not. We're like, hey, you know what? Go for it.
We welcome the sarcasm train. It's all we know. It's the only language we speak. So you're in good company.
Yeah. If people don't believe that I'm not really sleeping with Donald Trump, then they don't need to listen.
Wait, you're
not? I love to think that you have one listener who's like a hardcore Republican who's like, that's Donald's girlfriend right there. Gotta listen to her PCast.
They built a wall last weekend. I heard it was beautiful. I heard it.
Did you get the pieces at the Home Depot to finally finish that brick level of the wall you two were working on?
Yeah. We had to dig a trench,
Okay. Well, as you do. I'm sure
can't scale walls.
He seems like he's really good at digging trenches. Like
physical
he can really,
labor. You would be surprised the level of physical labor that man can
I bet it's
endure.
Really attractive. Like when you watch it, do you get really hot and bothered? And he takes his shirt off and So Eli, concentration camps.
I don't want to play this game anymore, Amy. I'm done. Tap out, Uncle.
It's so gross. The visuals are horrible.
So gross.
So one thing we were talking about last week is this whole, and I'm sure you've seen it, debate come up on Twitter online about the usage of the word concentration camp and how we seem to be more concerned about whether that's an appropriate term than we are about the actual fucking babies in cages. Have you experienced that? And what do you think about the use of the term concentration camp to describe what's going on at the boarding harder.
The problem generally, being serious, the problem generally with the left is that we allow the right to control the narrative because we are, quote unquote, the good guys and girls. And so we are constantly buying into every caveat that they offer to fight amongst ourselves or to talk about the things that are unimportant. So, I mean, first of all, a lot of experts on concentration camps have weighed in and said, yes, these meet the definition of concentration camps.
Literally what it is.
But the truth of the matter is that nobody having an honest conversation, nobody who's actually interested in solving the problem, thinks that it's a good idea to be talking about concentration camps. And the reason for that is simply this, is that, and I know that really well-intentioned people fall for this, that if your concern of purity on the left or goodness on the left extends to the point that you're stopping people from interfering with the ills of the right, you're harming rather than hurting. So, right, the most generous interpretation we can give to the people like, Andrew Cuomo or someone like that, who is generally considered to be very, very liberal, who's focusing on this thing, is that they are deeply misguided and they don't understand that what they think they're doing by clarifying and purifying on the left actually just gives power to the right.
Well, because you back away. You're like, this is what it is. And then like, oh, they say something and you're like, oh, yeah, you're right. Maybe not so strong. We'll we'll water it down just a little bit for you.
Yeah. And, Ian Danskin, who I talk about quite a bit, he has a YouTube channel called Innuendo Studios, and he has a series that's playing right now called the Alt-Right Playbook, where he sort of talks about the different moves that the alt-right plays. And one of the videos is called like Control the Conversation or Direct the Conversation. And that's what this concentration camp thing is, right? It is taking the conversation and no longer making about the fact that we are doing this horrible war crime-esque thing to people who come to us for help. And instead, they're making it about vocabulary. And more importantly, they're making it about hysterics, right? For the right for them, right? The whole thing is they need to emblemize a lack of empathy, right? If you are the calmest, if you are the least caring, right? And the way that works is there are certain things that you just absolutely cannot get on board with without human empathy, without saying, hey, I see that person in pain and I feel for them, and that is why I will change my behavior, my system of government, etc. If you don't have that feeling, right? If you can't recognize, at least on an empathic level, there will always be intellectual arguments holding you back.
Right.
And I think one of the mistakes that we make on the left is to assume that there are a series of intellectual arguments we can make to get people to the right place. And the truth of the matter is, as long as you stay in the realm of the intellect, which is what this sort of, is it a concentration camp or is it an internment camp or is it a holding detention center, whatever, it buys into the idea that the reason why people on the right say and do and believe the things that they say and do and believe is because they haven't heard the proper alignment of arguments. Whereas when we actually study those people, it's got nothing to do with what they've heard or the information they've had.
It's all feelings.
It largely has to do with a lack of information about other people and emotional in-grouping, right? So, when they do tests on Trump supporters, for example, right, it's not poverty, it's not economic fear, it's not, whatever political issue of the day is. The thing that Trump supporters have in common is racism. It was true right after the election, and it's true today. The unifying quality that they have is an emotional reaction to outgroups.
Right.
So when we buy into that conversation of the concentration camp, we let them control the conversation. And so the way to sort of subvert that tactic, and it's something that I think I do well because I'm balanced out by my co-host, is that I use broad emotional terminology that isn't an intellectual argument, right? So, for instance, when someone says, just thinking someone the other day shared a thing on Facebook that was like, this is what my uncle shared, isn't it silly? And it was them saying like, only in America do we think people who came here illegally deserve something and Americans don't, or whatever it was. And I commented, your uncle is a bad person, you should steal from them or hurt them as much as is legal. Because that's not an intellectual argument, and it's a fantastic way to get across the point that we're not playing that game anymore, right? I'm not saying that like we need Warren to give that answer in a debate, but the thing that we can recognize is, right, the reason why far-right propaganda is such a huge part of even liberal conversation is because we keep letting them control the conversation. And the concentration camps thing is just a part of that.
Well, and
sorry, I hope that wasn't too long-winded.
was great. I listened to.
I didn't listen to anything you said, so it was great.
She'll listen later. It's fine.
No, are you kidding me? I don't listen to any podcasts.
That's true. I listened to your recent episode with Thomas on Serious Inquiries Only, where you talked about the milkshaking phenomenon, kind of the same thing, how we're all talking about throwing milkshakes on politicians, and that's just not the issue we need to be focused on. And I encourage everyone to go back and listen to that, because it was a great discussion. It's got to at least, I like vanilla chocolate swirl, so I feel like as long as you're throwing something at them that you wouldn't be wasting by not drinking it. Like if I have a banana milkshake, I want to drink that. It's good. I don't want to waste that by throwing it on some Nazi.
Money.
So,
and I'm not going to throw it on Ted Cruz. First time he's felt something in years.
And the argument that I think I didn't quite get across, or that people were too honest to pretend to understand, is that at core, what that argument is about is that if someone tells you, if it weren't for the milkshaking, I would be focused on the right. Mm-hmm. I find in my own personal experience watching their social media presence or what they create or what they talk about, that's not true. That people who talk about milkshaking, they don't have a line at which they will stop talking about the left and start talking about the right.
Right. It's always going to be, it was Hillary or Obama or something. There's always something else to talk about rather than what's right in front of your face.
Well, you saw this a lot with the Black Lives Matter movement. You know, like I want to get on board with Black Lives Matter, but they're blocking highways,
they stand in the
and
middle
they're
of the
doing it
street.
wrong. And how can I support them?
What if there's an ambulance? Have you thought about the children?
They're just making us look bad. Like if they would stop making us like liberals just look bad with our tactics, I could get on board with them, but I just don't like the way they're doing things. So, but I'm not a racist at all. I'm totally not a racist.
I think it's important that our community, and by that I mean sort of the atheist secular podcasting community, recognize that like there's been this weird trend. So one, a bunch of us turned out to be rapists. That was pretty gross. But other than that,
talking about Amy with an eye.
You know what? It gave us a leg up.
True.
Honestly, clears out the field a little bit. We're like, cool.
Give you a pass. Yep. Okay.
We have less people to step over, not on top of,
sequel to the
over.
10-minute manager. But the other thing is that there is this pattern that happens in podcasting and in our community that I think is worth talking about, which is usually vulnerable people in our community, women, trans people, minorities, whatever you choose, say, hey, this person's behaving badly. And that person usually hasn't done anything that sort of matches my standard yet. Maybe they've been a little bit snarky on Twitter. Maybe they've shared a few too many things about liberals and not enough things about right-wing people. And we sort of silence those voices early on, right? We say, hey, you know, the example I'll use because fuck him to death is Michael Shermer, right? So Michael Shermer, when he first was accused of sexual misconduct.
Yeah. Everybody kind of knew. It was like the thing everybody was talking about, but not really.
Right. Not only was everyone talking about it, but everyone sort of was aware that he had these odd right-wing libertarian bends. And we all sort of let it go. I want to hold myself responsible for this as well because he was
Michael Shermer. So it's like, dude, but he's Michael Shermer.
And I used a lot of apologism language around it, right? I don't agree with everything he says, but
have you read his books? He's fantastic.
We don't have to be ideologically monolithic, et cetera, et cetera. And in doing that, again, I'm calling myself out as a well-intentioned person. I silenced a lot of voices, and now we look at him or, you know, the dozen other people I could name who used to be a part of our community who have now sort of added themselves as the right-wing, you know, mouthpieces that they are. Now we turn to those people and we say, hey, look, we've kicked them out. They're all gone now. Now you can come into atheism again. I understand the reticence that vulnerable communities have.
The trust is not completely gained back. So I did that. I sent a message to someone that because it was a podcast I started out on, and I sent a message about, because this was when the MRA movement was, you know, just starting out. And I was like, hey, women are kind of not feeling comfortable in this movement. I know there's a lot of language against women, and our voices aren't being heard as readily. As someone who has a voice and a platform, I think it's important that you use this to help. And he basically said, I've never seen it. It's not a problem for me. I'm not going to do anything about it. Like basically that was he is no longer part of our community. community either.
Yeah, we're not going to name any names, but his name rhymes with Schmally. But we don't like to talk shit on this show. So I'm just he's putting that on the record. So anyway,
but he basically told me, he basically patted me on the head and said, oh, nice try, little lady.
You're so cute. No. Like, aren't you adorable trying to get into the atheist world where all of us big men talk big ideas? And...
Right. But I felt incredibly shut down. I was like, well, fuck him. Like, it's something I had noticed pretty prominently. Like it was something that was in my life.
It seems really, really common, especially in the atheist community, that you've got so many, especially straight cis white dudes, who are so proud of their ability to do what they think is seeing everything rationally, to put aside their emotions.
Well, it's nice for them to be able to interpret everybody's experience and tell us what it is.
Is the same as theirs.
I appreciated that, actually. I did.
Well, and I think part of that is they really love to have this idea that they're completely impartial and that they are people who they can see both sides of any argument. And, I see this a lot in Facebook conversations. There are people who take so much pride in saying, well, I'm independent. I don't vote for any particular party. I look at people based on their merits. And, look at you silly people all jumping onto one pile or another.
Cool.
When I'm rational and I can see that both sides are doing terrible things. And it makes me want to puke every time I read it.
And, the secular community selects for that, right? You are far more likely to be an atheist if you are only interested in logic and don't care about appeals to emotion, right? And so telling someone, the difference between how you came to understand that religious ideas are wrong and worthy of ridicule is not the correct way to address something about social justice or someone's personhood. There's a tendency to reject that in our community because when a lot of people started to reject religious ideas, they were met with the same pushback. How could you do this to me? This is so hurtful. You're doing this to the family, and then of course, a lot of similar comparisons were made that don't fit atheism, but are used, don't you know, so you don't believe in love, or you hate me, or you don't believe you don't love your wife, you don't love your mother, that kind of stuff. And so the community that pushed through that initial thing is going to be biased towards, yes, I can intellectually figure my way into all ideas. And the truth is, you just can't, right? There's always going to be arguments for and against social justice. And while I would argue that the intellectual arguments lie heavily on the favor of social justice, the other problem is that a lot of the intellectual arguments that rely heavily on the favor of social justice require expertise and education, right? They're not something that you can watch an Intelligence Squared debate or hear a podcast and fully understand. Some of them are. And so, when I first guested on other podcasts, mostly what I did is I just went around explaining what safe spaces were.
Yeah.
And, when I talked to everyone from famous internet trolls all the way to people who wanted to be allies, the moment I explained what a safe space was, they were like, oh, yeah, why is this getting so much press? Why is this getting so much attention? Right? But the education and the experience in a mental health environment that I had was a requirement for that understanding.
Right.
And saying to someone online in a Facebook conversation, hey, you don't understand what a safe space is, therefore you talking about it in this way is not helpful, you are not learning, you are harming, doesn't work, right? They just hear, you're trying to shut me up, and they close down.
Right. That's just a place for ISIS to do their bidding or something.
Right. And then they immediately seek out, and again, it's the internet, so they immediately seek out a source that agrees with them. They find it, and it allows them not to connect empathetically with the information they've been given.
Because they also have something to back them up.
I was going to say, then they hang out in their own safe spaces. They've got their own little safe spaces, especially online. They're little groups where they can talk about how shitty safe spaces are, and they can surround themselves with people who are just like them.
And then share anti-vax memes back and forth because, the polio.
To be fair, we need to stop vaccinating our kids because who knows what's in those chemicals? Have you read the list of ingredients
the toxins,
on vaccinations?
The toxins.
It's fucking scary.
I know.
I know my kids eat pizza bagels 3 meals a day, but those at least have foods I can pronounce in them. So just saying.
Really? Do they? Flip them over and read them.
Well, I don't like to read the ingredients. I prefer to just believe that it's healthy tomato sauce and home-baked
I'm not
bread.
literate, but I'm assuming you can't read those.
Yeah. They don't let us learn to read. We have to get our husband's permission, and my husband's too busy, frankly.
Well, I was raised Mormon. We're not,
True.
What do I need to read for? I just need to make babies.
True.
Fine.
Yeah, you need to make some more babies. You've only got 3.
You know what?
Get on
Fuck
it.
you.
My neighbor's got 4, and she's not even Mormon, Amy. Come on. So
I know. Shots fired.
Pew, pew, pew. So one thing I actually did really want to ask you about, because this is something I'm sort of on the fence about, and I think you can either talk some sense into me or at least explain this to me better, because it's kind of the one thing in the realm of language and social justice that I still get.
Is this your dick pic question?
Yes.
Or is this other?
Shut up,
Okay.
Amy. I have it well written out.
Oh, she has paper.
She does this every show. I'm trying to make an interesting point, and she butts in with her drinking and her
dick
pics and whatever. So,
wild Trump sexcapades.
by the way, send all your dick pics to Amy with an I, not me.
So-
I keep telling you people this. I don't want your fucking dick pics. So the issue that I have been thinking a lot about, and that we've discussed on this show before and never really gotten anywhere that we feel is a comfortable answer on, is the increase in people not wanting to use terms that they consider ableist. And there are some very obvious terms that very obviously are ableist. But the words I'm thinking about, like stupid, lame, idiot, things like that,
Crazy.
where do you fall on that? Because it's something that I feel like when you take some of those words, I guess I feel like the context we have now is very different from when those words were originally used. And is there any room for that context now? Like, are we okay saying, no, these words have changed over time?
The way I measure everything in social justice is what is the harm versus what is the benefit. For example, like the N-word or some of the gay slurs.
Yeah.
Right?
Those
I
are
think-
more obvious.
Yeah.
Right. I think we all just sort of emotionally understand that when someone says to us, hey, this is the history of this, it hurts me, it brings me back to this place. It's whatever joke I had or bit I had, right? Assuming I'm not bad trying to hurt someone, but
Right.
I had a bit that has a slur in it, right? Whatever bit I have is not as important as making that person feel well and welcome. You know, so for me, I try to make a conscious, so first of all, if someone brings it up to me in person, my first thing is letting them know that I'm sorry and that it's okay, right? And that I'm going to consciously move forward, right? And that it's okay for them to be angry and that they don't have to forgive me and that I don't need an excuse.
So you're
right?
nicer than me. I'm just like,
Right.
Yeah, she's a bitch.
Because the impulse, right? The impulse is just like, yeah, that's not how I meant it. And more importantly,
Right.
underneath that's not how I meant it is I believe that you know that's not how I meant it. And you're using this to take power in a conversation.
Right. I usually just send him Amy's address and say she rates everything I say.
Right. And look, it would be dishonest to say that some people don't use social justice terminology or social justice as a way to gain power in the short term, right? As a way to bully other people. There are bad actors in every group of advocacy. But for me, it's about listening to that person, where they're coming from, and trying to improve my behavior. And then, you know, the thing I always say about social justice is like the rock bottom of social justice is always, I don't care.
Right.
You know, a
exactly.
great example of that is like, you know, people bring up a lot to us because we tend to be very social justice oriented. They're like, hey, do you think it's okay to make fun of Islam, or do you think it would be better to lay off Islam and the ideas of Islam because it's so hard to be Muslim in the United States, or because of all the anti-Islamic bigotry that's in the United States? And at core, we make fun of ideas, not people. But if someone tells me, hey, I'm a Muslim and I've got Trump as a president, and when I listen to your podcast and you talk about Islam and these ideas that are really dear to me, it makes me feel sad, I do hit my rock bottom of I do not care. I say, look, those ideas are more poisonous than your feelings, right? I understand that you have a relationship to those words, to those ideas, and I don't want you to feel sad, but I recognize those ideas as having a certain power, having a certain poison, and it's more important to me to discredit, to mock, to defang those ideas than it is for you to be happy, right? Just like when someone says, you know, what if someone who makes the Christian movies listens to your show? I'm like, well, they probably shouldn't have made a really selfish, evil, bad messaged movie, right? Like, I'm sorry that I compared you to a chicken nugget, but you shouldn't have told everyone they were going to burn burn in hell forever when they die, right? Like, so when it comes to the conversation around ableism, my first reaction is very similar to yours, which is just, I didn't mean it that way. I mean, stupid, not stupid. And then, depending
you know what I mean? I meant it was
you know
dumb.
what I mean?
You're not, I mean, your point is not worth listening to. That's what I mean. Right? You're not stupid.
Right. And what
just everything you say.
Right. And what I try to find in myself in that moment, again, is not the intellectual reason, right? I don't try and reason it out why I should lose those words or change those words in my vocabulary. I try to empathize with an other person's experience. I ask them about their experience and I try to find a connection point, right? So a great example of this in my own life, one of my best friends in the world is my buddy Matt. He's just such a funny, great dude, but he has super duper severe dyslexia. Like ants on the page, essentially cannot read, dictates and makes his life work through things. And he actually runs a super successful business. He's an awesome dude who I love very much. And I know him through magic circles. And one of the first times I used stupid around him, he was like, ugh. And I was like, really? Stupid? Like, and he's a very close friend. So it wasn't the thing of like distance where you have to be careful or an online interaction where you have to, and I was like,
he wouldn't think that you were just making fun of him by asking.
Exactly. And I was like,
there was
really?
no translation missed there. Yeah.
And I said, really stupid? Cause like, you know how I mean that, man. And he was like, yeah, but like, you gotta understand that until I went to special school in high school, I got called stupid and believed people for like 8 years. And just taking that in and really feeling that. And, I hate to be the white guy who's like, I have a daughter and that's why I believe in abortion rights. But honestly, like that was my empathetic connection to it was, recognizing what this other person has been through and how much this term is meant to them versus how much it would mean to me to go willfully ignorant or oogly boogly, which is, you'll notice on my show a lot of the time.
Or just, it's silly. It's just silly.
When I'm trying to replace words that I don't have good words for, I will make something up or use sort of an infantile example as well. Oogly boogly, wiggly piggly, something like that.
Right.
Because it does honestly get the meaning across. And
without wasn't harming people.
Right. And I wasn't harming someone. Right. And the harm to me is not so great. Right. Whereas if someone said, when I was a child, I was attacked by the word and. So if everyone could not use that phrase, I'd appreciate it. Like I 100% empathize with that person and I want them to be and happy. I will not stop using the word and.
Well, and I think that's where I just mentally have kind of gotten hung up is that, it's
hard.
I've never heard from the people, I guess, that are harmed by some of those words. And while I know they're out there, I've never...
I have gotten in that conversation before, too.
Have you? I don't know.
And the stance I usually take is, not when I'm not joking around, is if someone tells me that what I'm saying is harmful or hurts their feelings or something, I always listen. I will always
absolutely.
listen.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be like, that's silly, whatever. I always will listen and take it to heart and think about it and ask questions. But I was talking to a friend once and it was something about the word dude, just in general, just dude. And it's not nice in large groups of people. It's just not. And so I was thinking about that. I was like, there's so many other ways you can say that. It's hey y'all or, just a group of people. Just you can non-gender it easily. Easily.
I have replaced dude
or hey
y'all.
Guys.
Yep.
Hey guys. It's
see, but I've heard that
hey everybody.
I've heard hey guys is you're not supposed to use hey guys either, which is something
guys are dude, and it's because it's not
gendered.
It's not nice to people, right? It's gendered. There are people that are non-gendered. There are our trans friends that are not necessarily wanting to something to be so gendered. It's just not something that's
well. And I've always been.
It's just
I'm
there's other ways. There's better ways. If you know better, do better. That's just the way it is.
I'm going to sound terrible, but when anybody ever comes to me and says I do not appreciate this word or I don't, I'm never ever going to say, well, fuck you. I'm going to say it anyway. I really take it, especially people I know, I take into account that's not something I
listen.
Can,
when
I
someone
can say,
says, hey, my family was murdered by the word sword.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that's really tragic. I'm going to think about that every time I use the word sword.
Well, I guess it makes me think, at what point do you make that distinction? When is somebody being, how do you know when someone's being entirely genuine about the word lame or the word, I don't know. I guess maybe if I had more people in my life that experience that and were talking to me about it, it would make it would make more emotional sense to me. You know,
my assumption is that when someone makes a claim about social justice, just because of the weight that term is going to carry, right? As difficult as it is to be like, hey, please don't blank in the United States, right? Which is built around never making people of privilege uncomfortable. I must assume that it is harder for them to ask me to stop than it will be for me to stop.
Right.
That's the assumption I take too. I'm like, okay, that's fair.
You know, like something I've gotten better about and am still not perfect about is like when people call me out on Twitter, my immediate reaction is like, must destroy said not nice words. Now is not nice word contest.
No,
right?
you know what? Let me tell you about your mom.
Right, exactly. That's my impulse is always to lash out and strike back.
Too.
And then I have to remember that like for them, I am someone with a significant listenership and they have gotten on the internet and they have asked me to stop doing a thing and it must matter to them. Right. And so instead, what I try to do is I immediately apologize, right? Because an apology, it's not a way to get forgiven. It's a way to make someone feel heard, right? Hey, I absolutely
you acknowledge
hear you.
that their feelings matter.
Right.
And I'll say, as someone who really pushes boundaries when it comes to humor and continues to, right? I am always looking for lines to cross and edges to walk along. I would say 98% of the time when I send someone either on Twitter or in person or on email, because we get a lot of complaint emails about this joke or that joke, when you actually say, hey, didn't intend it that way. I'm really sorry. If you need to take a break from the show, we totally understand. You know, we have sort of a form email, quote unquote, that we all wrote together that is basically like, hey, we didn't want you to feel bad. We want you to feel happy. That's why we write everything as jokes. We didn't mean it. That's why we joke about all these other things because we feel like we can joke about everything. And truly, with the exception of 2 people in the entire time I've been podcasting, the answer's been like, oh, it's not that big a deal. And then they tell me what they experienced or what happened to them that made them feel such and such a way. And that usually takes care of it. And I mean, literally, there are 2 people in my memory who, when I apologized, were just like, well, I still think you're bad. And I was just like, all right. And again, hit the rock bottom of fuck at that point where I was just like, okay.
You know what? Cool.
I told you were listened to. You are here for something else. This is no longer about me. This is about a mental thing or an emotional thing that you've got going on. I've expressed all the right feelings and emotions to you that I genuinely feel. I'm not, as my dad used to say, I'm sorry, not penitent. So, and then I just let it go.
Yeah.
Just let it go.
You don't actually say, I'm sorry
I'm sorry you felt that way.
I'm sorry you felt that way, which is
sorry you took it that way.
Oh,
Right.
that's it.
Yes,
I'm sorry you took it that way.
I'm sorry you assumed that what I was saying was this.
Right.
Right,
That's
'cause
the
those
apology
aren't-
I've gotten before. Not from you.
Those aren't real apologies,
called a
right? Those
No.
are just,
It's
there's
a stop being such a little bitch is the way I'm told.
Right.
When people tell me I'm sorry you feel that way.
Again,
Or
to
I'm
be
sorry
fair, you are a little bitch a lot of the time. So
you know what?
You should work on that.
That's not wrong.
Well,
I'm not going to work on that.
the one-
that's my persona.
Yeah.
That's
true.
The other thing that comes up quite a bit that I think is pretty important to talk about when it comes to social justice, again, especially in our community, is that what you hear a lot is people making excuses for professional communicators, right? So when it comes to Shermer or Dawkins or me, right? If someone shares something on Facebook or says something on their show that seems to have a certain bent, or tweets something that has a really insensitive thing, you'll see about 100 people underneath that saying, oh, he didn't mean it that way. He obviously meant it this way. You're just taking it out of context. You want to be enraged. And I just want to point out
You're
that,
looking at every little thing to just pick people apart.
Right. And there's a lot of conversation about that. What there's not a lot of conversation about is why we give such a wide berth to professional communicators when they suddenly seem to lose their ability to communicate just about one subject, right? If you constantly Facebook about outrage culture or social justice or the crimes of the left or the problems of the left, and you're a communicator for a living, when someone brings up that you're problematic or that it seems like you focus entirely on the left, and you then bring up, your secret heart full of liberal views and love and kindness, it is very hard for me to believe that you are such a bad communicator that you don't notice why people are upset with you.
Cough, cough. Bill Maher, cough, cough.
Right, exactly.
Right,
Bill Maher's a
exactly.
great example, right? Bill Maher is like, I'm a liberal. I don't know why people get mad. And it's like, really? really? You can't see
You
why?
can't possibly understand.
No one has ever expressed to you in a way that you understand why the things that you say and do are hurtful?
To be fair, it might have been women that said it, and he can't hear our shrill voices.
That's true.
Right. Can't
Because
hear
he
that-
immediately assumes we're nagging, and he doesn't listen.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
He
was
also
just-
should just do the
he
damn
was built
dishes and
that
take
way.
out the garbage.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
and I will say again, like, that's something that I certainly not just recognize in myself, but recognize in well-meaning friends, that like they get called out and then they get pushed further and further to the right, because if they listened, right, and apologized, they would have to acknowledge that they've been demonstrating a pattern of bad behavior, as opposed to just pretending that they have become a victim of the far left, right? I'm just the newest one that they pick on. I'm just the one that they're coming after.
Oh, I'm just the
And
latest
again, like,
one in a long
weighing-
list.
Right. Weighing in your mind and actually thinking to yourself, okay, what is the damage I'm doing versus what is the damage that's being done to me, right? What is the damage I'm doing by giving transphobes or racists a platform versus a couple of tweets that express their disappointment, or Facebook comments that express their disappointment to me? Like, overall, right? If I get called out, even if I get called out in the meanest, most awful way, what I want to take into my mind first is, what harm did I do? What harm did I do that caused someone to lash out like this? And if it's worse
Right.
than the harm that I've received, maybe that's where my focus should be.
Find out what their actual point is. Like, what are they trying to accomplish by making that tweet? What are they trying to get across?
Right.
Well, the one thing that I am worried about, I guess, is, are we okay with the word motherfucker? Because Amy and I use the word motherfucker
I mean, I call
profusely.
my fiance a motherfucker
So
because he is.
Is there a community of actual literal motherfuckers out there that we are harming by using the word motherfucker? Is that something we should reconsider?
If my Pornhub search results are any example, there's a big community of motherfuckers out there. But yeah, I've never heard
I
it's
call him that all the
problematic.
time. I'm like, you dirty motherfucker.
My
All right.
my problem with motherfucker, no one has problematized motherfucker to me, so I'd say we're
Okay,
good to
good.
use it until someone
That's
asks
good.
us otherwise.
I lost my virginity to a motherfucker.
There you go.
God. I will
sorry.
say, fun fact about me, as much
sorry.
as Amy with an I loves to talk about her porn obsession, I don't watch nearly as much porn as Amy with an I does, but I did recently get on Pornhub and was doing some scrolling and thought, is this really what people are fucking into now? It's like all
Research.
moms.
She
it's all
was
like,
doing research.
Yeah, it's all like mom and her stepson, or mom. And I'm just like, as a mom of boys, I'm just looking at it going, oh, why is this all the top videos? I'm very uncomfortable right now. Not to kink shame
After
anybody.
she watched it 4 times, she became very
I
uncomfortable.
had to see what all the fuss was about. So
Right.
I'm just saying.
Right.
The great thing about porn is that you can go in a quarter of a second from someone else's kink, which you totally don't understand, where you're just like, people are weirdos, to your
Gross.
kink, and be like, ooh, my community is here. Right? I will watch someone do like a sister incest video, and I'll be like, oh, that is not for me. And then it's like,
gross.
guy fucks toaster, and I'm like, oh, finally, another one I found.
Toasters are
This guy fucks
sexy,
toaster
though.
42. He retired after the
Was it plugged in or not? Because I have
bathtub incident.
two very separate kinks with that.
Sunbeam makes a good sexy toaster. I'm just saying.
I'm saying.
Yeah, I think part of that's
it's
just
something you can only record once, though.
exactly. Yeah, it's the mom in me. Like, I have sons, and I'm like, why are there this many people fantasizing about having sex with their kids? But
I mean, have
hey,
you seen them?
to each
They're
their
super
own. To each their own.
hot.
Freud was right.
yeah.
We talk about Freud. Like, Freud's actually been largely no. Y'all want to fuck your moms and your dads, and you all got spooked when you were learning not to poop, and that's why you're into anal sex. Like, it's so when you read any of Freud's work, like, yeah, there's some homophobia stuff in there that is worth ignoring, but all the like id sexuality stuff, he's just straight on the fucking nugget. He is just straight on the nugget.
And see, I was raised Mormon, so mine goes even further.
Yeah, you got that real
It's like, you
deep
wouldn't
shame.
you wouldn't even allowed to touch yourself. Like,
Yeah.
unless you're washing yourself, don't even touch yourself. So there's all kinds of like masturbation porn, like all kinds of
Yeah,
stuff.
now as parents, we're like, just be safe, kids. Here's some lube.
Well, now it's
Here's
like full
watch
on
better
party,
porn.
like full on party stuff. Like everybody's watching two people fuck. I'm like, I'm into that. That's cool. I want to watch that because it was so secret and sacred, and don't do that, and it's dirty and wrong.
We're disgusting
So
our
I'm
entire
like, I'm
audience
gonna
right now. now.
Fuck
Amy.
in the middle of a party.
It's all gentle ladies and gentlemen listening to this program.
With Trump. I'm going to fuck Trump in the middle of a party.
Yeah.
See, here's the great thing about Pornhub, though, right? Because the big issue I had with porn for years, and I've talked about this other places, but like I was always worried, like, what if someone's not consenting? What am I not seeing? What am I not aware of?
Exactly.
But the verified amateurs on Pornhub, those motherfuckers uploaded their driver's license. Like, they want you to watch them fuck that toaster. If you went to the trouble of getting a blue check on Pornhub, you want me to watch you fuck that goat. Like, all right, man, you have done...
I like the amateurs, too.
But did the goat get consent? I mean, did that toaster give consent?
Does the goat have a check mark? You can check that stuff out.
Okay, good point.
In Texas, I'm sure he does. The goat has a driver's license.
All the goats in Texas love fucking. I think we all know that. Fucking
they better,
Texas. Yeah. So I have one more thing to bring up with Eli. It's been about an hour, and we don't want to disrespect your time here. I just want to ask about he
does have later mass.
Yes,
you're right.
The one hand-painted bowl that I made for you that said Eli motherfucking Bosnick on it that Tom and Cecil broke. How do you feel about A, the fact that they didn't give it to you, they just kept it, and B, that they broke it and blamed it on me? Like, has that started any sort of tension between you guys? Or
you know, it's
Did
Cecil,
you film the fist fights? That's what I want to know.
So, you know, I tried to arm wrestle Tom over it, and there's video of how that
poor choice.
went.
You had headbutt him first, then arm wrestle.
Yeah, so that went
Rookie
badly.
mistake.
But
yeah,
every day's a recovery. You know, it's small steps.
I get
It's
it.
like
Cecil,
We're all growing.
Cecil, you just got to pull his hair really hard, like just grab it and yank it. That shit hurts. I'm
Kick
just
his
saying.
question is which
Kick his
hair?
inner leg.
That's true. Yeah. Maybe.
See, she's being nice. I have a bone to pick with you, but that's after her.
Okay. I was just going to say maybe I'll make a new bowl at some point, but don't hold your breath because as our listeners know,
in front of you.
As our listeners know, I am fucking terrible about getting their bowls out to them.
It's the carrot. She's like, maybe. If you're good, Eli,
just wait
you'll get a bowl with dicks on it.
Wait like 3 years and I'll put some more dicks on your bowl. We started doing the dicks on the bowl thing just for Tom and Cecil. That was a one-time thing. I'm like, I'm going to send these guys
everybody
bowls.
wanted dicks on
and I'm
their
going to put
bowls.
dicks on them. And from then on, it was like, I want a dick bowl. I'll give you $10 a month for a dick bowl. So now I have to put dicks on all the bowls I make. So thanks, Tom and Cecil.
Funny story. My sister's a patron. She was. She goes on and off. And she got a dick bowl for being a patron. And my mom, my Mormon mother, used it as gravy bowl for Thanksgiving one year.
And it had dicks everywhere.
Everywhere. She's fully aware of what it is. And she thought it was hilarious. But I
covered that thing in dicks, man.
Mormon mother used a dick bowl. And the missionaries were probably there because they're always at my parents' house.
They assumed they were just lovely little cartoon arrows. And, No?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
They're very solidly dicks. I don't know.
Well, thank you so much, Eli.
Wait, let me
Amy
do my
has a bone to
slight
pick.
complaint.
Go ahead.
Why don't you have ex-Mormon women on Mormon Movie Month?
The answer is because when we reach out to ex-Mormon women, you're the biggest flakes in the freaking universe.
I have never gotten a message, and I'm right here.
Guests. Well, first of all, everyone thinks that I psychically know that they're ex-Mormon. So let's talk about that.
You don't?
No, it's
One-man guest booking team, and they're just like, Mormon Movie Month will be over for 3 weeks, and someone will be like, oh my gosh, you didn't get Amy with an eye on. You guys are the worst. And I'm like, I book my guests out 2 months in advance. I script we have a 2.5 hour record we have to schedule.
I'm willing to do a non-Mormon movie.
Thank you.
She'll take one for the team. She's willing to.
I'm just saying it's.
She's willing to sacrifice, is what she's saying.
It's a perspective that's not very heard, and it's a completely different experience.
Yeah,
than the male Mormon experience.
Plus, I've actually had it out with Bryce Blankenagel a couple times. He's a great guy. I love him. But I was like, I had way more Mormon cred than him because I was a Mormon for 34 years as a woman. So you
doing the whole housewife thing too, like with the kids.
Yeah. I was married in the temple. I had Mormon babies. Like I did all of it. I have some. I was like, hey, I'm more Mormon than you, and he's like, okay, cool.
So you had a Mormon off? Did you record this Mormon off? Because
no, it was backstage at the 24-hour whatever podcast-a-thon.
I
thing.
prefer to settle disagreements by Broadway dance-a-thons.
It was like 3 a.m. Arn Ra was bringing us tacos. It was crazy town back up in there.
Yeah,
but it was fun.
Those were the days back when everybody loved dogma debate. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, really?
Yeah, what we're saying is we will happily use your platform at any time to further our show because we only care about...
stand on your
We
shoulders.
will be on your show.
Our primary goal is to enlighten everybody else with our wonderful perspectives. And you don't want to deny your audience
that was my main question.
so-
It's like, hey, I'm a lady.
I'm a lady. I'm a Mormon.
I was oppressed horribly.
I have a vagina. Come on. Yeah. So...
No, that don't tell people that. That's what gets us in trouble.
Oh, that's right. They don't like the word vagina. Oh, God.
Well, no, it's like if you don't have a penis, then you cannot have power.
That's true.
Because it starts with P.
Oh, God. I keep forgetting that. That's why we can't get better ratings.
Told you this.
Fuck.
I told you this.
I'm
Trump is
sorry.
trying to make vaginas illegal, except
true.
for him.
Yeah.
To use them. It's this whole thing.
It really is. Well, thank you for coming
Something
on,
about
Eli.
cages. It got real
Amy
fun.
will shut up eventually, but it's going to take a while. So you might want to just ride it out. No, sincerely, thank you so much for coming on. All of our people in our Facebook groups were so excited to hear that we were going to be interviewing you. They're all super jealous. Is there anything you want to...
She had to remind me who you were.
I really did, yeah. No, we didn't.
Okay.
Is there anything you want to leave us with, or you want to plug your shows, or just have the last word? You're not really going to have the last word, because then we're going to let you go, and then we're going to talk about our patrons. But, in theory, the last word.
Well, then he does the soup
then you do
creed,
the
so he
soup
kinda
creed, so you
does.
do- but
Technically,
then we have
yeah.
outtakes. It's a whole process. So
That's right.
Yeah.
Never stop nevering. That's my last word.
okay, that's a good quote.
I like it.
Well, I will, if I get ambitious, put links to all of Eli's info in the show notes. I generally forget to do that sort of thing, but I'm going to make a point of it this time. I'm going to be fucking professional and put shit in the show notes. So thank you so much, Eli Bosnick.
Our fans won't even know who you are. They're like, this is the wrong show.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like, who is this guy? I don't...
Someone kidnapped Amy. We don't know what happened.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just going to say you were our second choice for the Secular Soup Creed because Amy had a whole other person lined up and we were like, well, I guess we'll take Eli if we have to. So
I get it.
Yeah.
I understand.
So
I don't even remember who I was sleeping with at the time.
I do.
Who was it?
I'm not naming names, but yeah.
Okay.
She just wanted to be whatever random
it.
person she was sleeping with.
It was someone I was.
I told you. Oh my God, Amy.
You're like, I'm not naming names, but I'm no
Yeah, no,
longer on his
this is a
team.
legit story. Like, I remember this. Okay.
Oh no, you weren't just messing with me. You
No.
were telling a story.
Yep.
Oh damn it, you're right.
Thank you, Eli. Thank you for coming on the
So
show and
glad
blessing
you
us
trumped me there.
with your
Thanks so
presence.
much for having me.
We will let you go and enjoy the rest of your Sunday at church, and we will
Yeah, God bless.
talk to you soon on your show.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Now that he's gone.
Whatever.
Woof.
Take your pants off, ladies. It's time to get comfortable.
Take off that bra, get settled in. We got some shit to do. Yeah, we just need to finish up a little bit of housekeeping because we need to tell you how to get those
We
fabulous
can
dick
totally
bowls.
leave that all in.
We
too.
can. Oh, yeah.
We're
I'm definitely...
funny.
Rich.
Constantly.
Rich, leave all of that shit in. It's
Yeah, we're
golden.
funny. See, even when we're saying goodbye to our guests.
Totally. Yeah.
Just class acts from beginning to fucking end.
If all else fails and we need some outtakes, you could put the awkward stuff in the outtakes. I don't know. We let Rich do it because Rich is a pro and we don't know what the
We're
fuck
not
we're
even
doing.
awkward.
Yeah,
I don't know
so
what you're talking
it's
about.
weird. That was so much fun. We were looking forward to it for so long. If you would like to help patronize our show instead of giving your money to people like Puzzle in a Thunderstorm or Glory Hole or all those dudes.
I love that he heard good things about us from Tom and Cecil.
Oh
I'm
my
like, wow.
God. They must be whispering it really quietly in their studio so nobody can hear it. Cause yeah.
You know
that
who's
was
good?
When I talked to Robert about the abortion debate thing on his show, he was messaging me and he's like, oh, I've heard such great things about you. And I'm like, really? From who? Like, you've heard...
That's exactly what
Makes me very
I wanna know.
nervous.
I'm
Like, who's saying...
Has my mom been texting you again?
My mom's like, have you heard my
told
daughter's podcast? It's so
My
good.
daughter has a pod person show.
You should really
It's so
encourage it. So, yeah, Patreon, bitches. Get on the Patreon. Take your money out of the dude shows and put it into Our Lady show. You can do that at patreon.com/secularsoup. We have many...
We have more places you can insert it.
Exactly. And I was actually just talking last night at a wedding I went to with a friend of mine who is very excited.
She was bitching about that wedding.
What?
All night long. I said she was bitching about that wedding all night long.
I did all of the decorating at this wedding and I did a fucking awesome job. And I wore my crown. I made a crown for the DJ. I was all over that shit. But anyway,
Nice.
The groom at the end of it was like, when are you going to get drunk again? And so I told him we're waiting for 50 patrons.
50 patrons.
We're at 35. We've been hanging out at 35 forever. We need to get to 50 before we do another drunk cast. So he was like, I could probably
someone at
pitching
work is
$1 a
dangling in
month.
front of me. They're like, I could be a patron to your show.
Well, even
or
he,
patron on my show. I'm
this
like,
guy
dude,
doesn't
really?
listen to my show. He's just a friend and just wants to see me get drunk. So he's like, I'd give your show $1 a month. It's worth it just to watch you get drunk. So,
Dude, do it.
Yeah.
Does he have friends? Do his friends have friends?
Not many, but he's kind of in politics now. So he meets a lot of people.
Oh, I know that guy. I've heard
While
things.
he's door knocking, he could,
Yeah.
you know. So yeah, if you want to contribute to me getting drunk, which is something I do not do, but we'll make an exception for our patrons, you can give us at least $1 a month on Patreon, more if you prefer, even more if you have lots of money and you're rich. So that's how money works. You can find all of our different levels. We have all kinds of fun, soupy pun name levels. And if you give us $10 a month or more, you yourself will get a bowl mailed to you, hand painted by me, with or without dicks on it.
Not broken by Tom and
Not
Cecil.
broken by those fuckers. And then they go and blame it on how I packed the bowls to be mailed. That's bullshit.
And yet
I put like a
somehow
whole piece of
theirs
newspaper
survived.
around that thing. Yeah, like whatever. They're bowl thieves. So yeah, we've been stagnant at 35. We need some more of you to jump on board so we can get drunk. And I'm going to read off our patrons very quickly. We have got Triss, Mind Your Own Uterus, Jesse, Dumb All Over Podcast is still giving us money, but they don't exist anymore. So I'm really hoping they just forgot and they just leave it there because that would be awesome. We've got Dino, Kristen, Cowbell, who will be on our show next week, the week after you're listening to this. I recorded a fantastic interview with her about ethical eating. She's a farmer. It was a great discussion. So look for that next week. And if you are a patron, you get all of the episodes early, so you'll get access to that fairly quickly. We've got Stephen and Cindy. We've got Nathan, Dickey. We've got Kimberly, Rebecca, Verlaine, Sarah, Liz Satan, Toshby, Matt in Canada, Andy, Jeannie, Elvin Engineer, Sarah, Freethinker 215, Supports Americans United for the Separation of Church and State, Alan, Jerry, Dr. Dylan Medical Detective, Alice at the Ask and Tell Project, askandtell.com, Larry Yellingman, Keith, Marissa Alexa McCool, who we will see in August. Still looking for that prom dress for Skepticon. We've also got our 23rd favorite Rich. That's the other thing we need to do is schedule our episode with Rich and Nathan so we can do the PowerPoint presentation that Nathan has done about Rich's rankings. So hopefully we'll get
I hope
that
it turns
set
into
up.
a fist fight.
Oh God, it better.
really-
It fucking better. So if you can do fist
You guys-
fights through the computer, can you do that?
Start pumping up.
Yeah, we're going to turn this into a total shit show. It's going to be fantastic. So hopefully we'll have that for you in a few weeks. We're just going to go ahead and call Rich and Nathan and be like, hey, we're doing this now. Get on your fucking computer. I don't care what you have going on. We're ready. So anyway, we've also got Yesh. We've got Wendy, whose bowl is literally sitting on a desk in my house right now, just getting ready to mail. So seriously, Wendy, I really, really promise. It's so close to getting to your house. We've got at our top level, our favorite patron, Ashley. We've also got Randall, our kind of other favorite patron. We've got Nathan, who is an excellent, excellent patron at $30 a month, who actually listened to every fucking episode again just to get the rankings of Rich throughout the entire series and made a PowerPoint. He must be really bored. I don't know, but I appreciate the effort because it's fantastic. Our very top patron at $30.02 a month is Reparations Now. I'm surprised it's still at Reparations Now and hasn't changed yet. He must be forgetting to mess around with it. But those are our patrons. We appreciate you. If you do not want to commit to a dollar amount per month, which is totally understandable, but you still want to pitch in something, you can go to our money pool that we're putting together for Skepticon in August. We need to physically get to the Skepticon in August and pay for beds and food. And so I put together a money pool just for that. I will have a link to it in our show notes. You know, throw us a few bucks. For every $5 you put into that money pool, I will send you a bonus episode that you wouldn't have gotten to listen to otherwise. So if you're not a patron
we're
already,
recording more bonus episodes. Yeah. We're doing another ramen.
We're going to record another ramen. We really need to get another conspiracy chowder out. But if for people who aren't patrons and haven't gotten to hear all those bonus episodes, I will send you one episode per $5 that you put in that money pool. So get on it. It's going to be so worth it. So yeah, I think that's all I had. I wanted to mention the Drunk Cast. We're still working on that. The money pool, the patrons. And that's, I think, it for announcements. It was so awesome having Eli on. So Amy,
it was good.
Go ahead and...
It was good. And I was calmer than I thought
You
it was
really
going to be.
were.
I
thought you were going to be yelling at him and getting all drunk and belligerent.
Oh, I almost did.
We managed,
but,
we managed not
I'm
to hurl all
saving
those
that for
insults
Noah.
we had planned. Yeah. You forgot to tell him all your dick jokes, though, that you had lined up. We'll have to have him on again just for dick jokes.
I forgot to send him my official Nazi membership card.
God damn it. Well, I feel like we can do that later.
For his birthday.
Because what he said before we started recording was he only wants to be on our show if we're legit Nazis. So,
right. And so I have to show him I am legit.
He only goes on Nazi shows.
It's the same card I used to get on Pornhub, though, so...
That's fair.
It's all good. All right, you ready?
Yes, take us out.
All right. And that's all we've got for now. Thanks to all our fabulous listeners who put up with us droning on week after week. If you enjoy our delightful bitchcraft, please like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and send us all your monies on Patreon. You can find us on those platforms by using the Google machine. It's not hard. This week, your donations will go to getting me a new gun. Because,
you need it.
You know, I do. It's Texas. Yep. The one I was issued at birth is getting old.
Yeah, I can see that. You're pretty old, so.
Yeah. If you want to tell the world how awful this episode was, join our Secret Soup Talk Facebook group. If you want to tell us to fuck off personally, call Amy.
No, please don't.
You can send an email to secularsoupodcast@gmail.com. Please rate and review us on iTunes, Facebook, and wherever else you can review things like this. Please do. 5-star. It will help spread the soup gospel far and wide. And hey, tell your friends. Yes.
Hey. Wait. I know what I forgot to mention.
Line.
I really hope people are still listening right now because I forgot we did get some new iTunes reviews.
Nice. We will read them. Oh, you want to read it now?
Let me read one quickly and then we can reread them next time because nobody's listening anymore, but I was so excited.
Sorry, Rich. Amy, I can't control her. I don't know what's going on.
We're both uncontrollable. So this one is...
Don't lump me in with that.
We have two new ones since May, but I'm just going to read the most recent one and then I'll read the other one next week. So Natalie, who's one of our patrons, wrote this one on June 6th. She said, "Yay, this podcast is amazing and you should give them all of your monies." Monies? And then she changed the monies to EIYS because it's a whole thing about how we spell the Amy's. Also, if the Amy's ever want to Skype with a wine-drinking, never really Catholic lady, I'm down. You know where to find me. So another drinking challenge issued, and we may accept that. We'll see. But
Hertzie asked me for a rematch today, and I told her that the last one was a rematch, and I don't want to do that.
I mean, why would you? You're the reigning champion. You don't want to give yourself a chance to fail.
Why would I even risk my crown?
Yeah. So anyway, so yes, please,
challenge accepted.
Please go on iTunes and leave us reviews. I do really check that every 2 or 3 months just to see if there's any new ones on there. So
and then she's like, hey, well, I'm in the
right at the end of the show. Go stop everything. Okay, continue.
Stop the presses.
Not awkward at all.
As always, we'll leave you with the vocal stylings again of Mr. Eli Bosnick.
Secular Soup Creed. Soup is the ultimate virtue. It's delicious, nutritious, patriarchy smashing, racism fighting, warm and fuzzy, human affirming, fun having, anti-theist, glitter throwing, tummy satisfying, pair of new shoes fulfilling, diversity seeking, happiness. Minestrone, beef and barley, chicken broth and split pea, gazpacho, tomato, clam chowder and potato, chicken noodle, beef noodle, egg drop and ramen cup, miso, gumbo, leek and pho. Grab a bowl and taste the magic. Slurp even this.